Well, you might be wondering why I'm pulling my trailer right now on the way to go pick up a motorcycle. Uh, and I appreciate your concern because I do have issues. You know, when I have a Virago ground up build that I'm working on, when I'm redoing and mildly customizing a XS 750 with my cousin, and when I'm having to maintain all of my normal motorcycles, even in wintertime like this, I would expect you, my friends, to ask, James, why are you going to pick up another motorcycle? But this one's for a good reason. Isa Moto Guzzi. Oh, sorry, some of you may not speak Italian. It's a Moto Guzzi. So a buddy of mine has a Moto Guzzi that stopped working. That's really all I know. All I know is that it left him stranded, I guess, and he really has no idea what to do. Now, like all things Italian, whether it be cars or motorcycles, they take a special touch. You know, same thing with Ducatis, right? Like, they're not for the faint of heart. They're not for somebody who's unwilling to sort of dive in and get your hands dirty. So the plan is to go pick up the bike from his house. I guess him and his dad or whatever, like, put it in the back of a minivan to get it home from where it let him sit. We'll bring it back to the shop. We'll diagnose what's wrong with it, and we'll sort of go from there. And he'll be along with me, so hopefully he learns something along the way. So here it is. It's the V7 Racer, right? Which is different than the Stone?
Right.
Okay.
It's the engine and chassis is the same. It's just some suspension, some non-functional pieces.
Right.
Okay.
So I see the lights on. So it's got some battery power?
Yeah, I guess I haven't tried to start it since I dropped it off.
Okay. So what actually happened?
So I was riding on the highway. The oil light came on, and I tried to coast to the next exit. And as I was doing so, the engine started seizing, and I downshifted to second, and it just shut off.
Oh, I thought the bike, for some reason I had it in my mind, I thought the bike just like wouldn't start. So I'm like thinking easy stuff.
Yeah, no, it shut off, and then
Does it have oil in it?
I didn't get a chance to check yet. So,
Okay. All right, well, let's load it up,
Yeah.
and then we'll go from there. Well, this is the type of thing you get. You know, I thought in my mind of minds that, oh, you know, it just stopped running, shut off, no big deal. Turns out, as you may have heard, the oil light came on and the, quote, engine started seizing and then stopped running. So Moto Guzzi, I really have no idea. I mean, sure, like, I have a plan of attack, right? So what's the plan? What do you do in a situation like this? Like, the bike will start, he said. Well, before we start it again, number one, we're going to check the oil, right? He said he didn't get a chance to check to see even if there's any oil in it at all. So step one, check the oil before we start it. Step two is check the cylinders with a cylinder bore scope. Are they super scored and burnt looking? Step three, after that, try turning the engine by hand, making sure that there's no grinding or scraping or any really tough spots. Let's see how it goes.
are you all self-taught on this stuff, or did you take any sort of?
Yeah, just self-taught over the years. Yeah, I mean, I'm 35 now, and I've been, like, I owned my first motorcycle when I was 19 or 20. So, you know, over the years of motorcycle ownership, just did more and more and more. And then when I got into, like, customizing, then it just became a matter of like, okay, I need to do this, so I need to learn how and buy all the tools to do it. And now I need to do that, and then I need to, you know, it just accumulated that way. There we go. All right, what do you think? Oil? No oil?
I'm thinking it's above 50% chance that there's no oil. I think it's like I
So
didn't.
60 to 96% chance that there's no oil in this thing. Let's see.
It's weird because I hadn't been checking it that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, let me wipe it off. Maybe that's it. You know, they teach in shop class to wipe it off.
I hadn't been checking that frequently because like after a couple times where I saw like how slow the leak was, I didn't.
Yeah. So some motorcycles, to check the level, you just set it on. You don't thread it in.
Yeah.
So there's nothing on the dipstick like that. Let's thread it. Unthread it. And the bike's pretty level now, so we should get a somewhat accurate reading. And it hadn't run in a long time, so anything in the sump is going to be in the sump, and I'm not getting anything on the dipstick. Okay, so
Wonder where it was going.
the question is did you lose it all at once, or are you burning it? And from what you said, it doesn't sound like you saw a puddle of oil anywhere with 4 quarts. So at this point, we'll fill it up with oil and then go through the rest of the procedure. And let's see how this oil looks coming out. Very black. You can kind of see some little like glistening in there, but not a whole lot. So that's good. But I don't see any like huge metal shavings coming out. It's not like metallic, which is a good sign. So to check in the cylinders, we have to take off these spark plug covers. Here, you can come over and see how it just pulls up from the back, exposing the spark plug wire cap, which covers up the spark plug down inside. So we'll pull the spark plug out, put an illuminated bore scope in, and look at the condition of the cylinder. And I don't see any like chipping of the piston or anything. You guys can check it out. See, the piston looks good. Now we'll switch to the side view. That's called cross hatching there, where you see the lines at like 45 degrees going in both directions. So that's what you want on like a healthy cylinder wall, is that cross hatching. Okay, so the cylinders and the pistons look good.
That's good.
Yeah. So what I want to do now is, without spark plugs, so the engine won't start, we'll crank it.
Okay.
Just to get some oil up into the top end. That'll pump some oil up into the valves. Make sure that everything sounds okay as it's cranking and cranking and cranking. All right, so to check the compression, here's a little like vacuum or pressure gauge and some hoses. So you thread these hoses into the spark plug socket, and then you crank the engine and see how high the compression gets. See, it goes from like 0 all the way up to 300. We want like above 100, between 100 and 150. Anywhere in there, and it'll run. We're making all kinds of compression, Ryan. That's great news. We'll check the other side, just for integrity. Oh yeah, we're making like 180. Good. All right. What do you think is going to happen?
So I think it's.
What's your guess?
So if I remember correctly, when in idle, it was not making much of a racket. It was when I put it in gear.
And revved it a little bit? Yeah. So that makes it sound like it would be like top end valve stuff if, once it really starts moving at high speed. Always All right, at some point you just have to test it. That is the Italian footwear of choice.
Did it?
Right there. That's
The loafers.
And do it again. Yeah, that's like valve and the noise. Go ahead and do it again. Yeah. Did you hear that top end noise? I can kind of hear it here down the block. I mean, what should I tell him? It's kind of sad, right? I mean, top end rebuild. You're gonna have to pull the valves, pull the cams if it's overhead cam, see what's warped, what's not, right? What needs to be replaced. So that's kind of what I think I'm gonna say to him. Top end rebuild. And that's the thing, is like, you don't know what's wrong until you just disassemble it and check the tolerances for everything, check to see what's in spec, what's out of spec, and find out what's wrong. In the scheme of mistakes, I've made more expensive mistakes, so you made a mistake and it'll cost you,
Right.
but it didn't cost you your life, and it's just money. You can always make some more. All right, so I am following Ryan back to his barn now to drop the bike off. Yeah, he is riding it, because it sounds perfectly fine at low RPMs. It's just when you rev it up, you can really get some of that valve chatter. So it's only a 7-minute drive home. The speed limit's like 40 miles an hour. So I think as long as he takes it easy, doesn't rev it high, he's not going to do any more damage than is what's already done. It's kind of disappointing because you'd like to hope for that miracle where you just put some oil in it and start it up. But listen, it was completely out of oil and the engine seized up when it was hot and driving. Like, you just can't walk away from that without doing something to the motorcycle, right? Like, sure, it's an air-cooled twin. It's not a space shuttle, but it's still a precise machine. You guys got to see a little bit of the diagnostic procedure that I go through when checking something out. Some of you guys might call it overkill. I know some guys would have just poured some oil in it and tried to start it, but one of the big things is knowledge, right? The more you can learn about a bike, the better when it comes to diagnosing an issue. And we learned a lot about the bike. We learned that it didn't have any oil in it. We learned that there wasn't any major bottom end damage easily seen because there wasn't tons of metal in the oil. We learned that the bike has good compression. We learned that the cylinder walls look okay and the tops of the pistons look good. And we learned that the bike starts, idles, shifts, and runs. And least excitingly, we learned that there is top-end noise under load at RPM. All right, guys, thanks for sticking along. It was a fun episode. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.